Greetings, Corona Friends Church family. My name is Holden Thompson, and my wife and I are the children's and youth pastors here at Corona Friends Church. Today's video lesson is meant to supplement elementary Sunday mornings. However, I do think pre-K students are going to enjoy this one a lot as well. As per usual, I'm using the David C. Cook Gospel Light 2019 curriculum, so please don't sue me. I'm just trying to do my best here in the quarantine times. Now, if you want to follow along at home, go ahead and get out a sheet of paper and make 8 quadrants as per usual so that you can draw out the story as we go along. Today's Bible lesson can be found in Jeremiah chapter 1. And without further ado, let us begin. The time of the kings ruling over Israel and Judah was about to come to an end because most of the kings had led the people away from obeying God. God had warned them that their nation would be destroyed. God called a man named Jeremiah to be a prophet like Isaiah, Elijah, and Elisha. God told him exactly what messages to tell the people. Jeremiah warned the people to love and obey only God and to stop worshiping idols. But the people of Jerusalem did not listen. They no longer cared about loving and obeying God. So unlike King Josiah last week, most kings of Israel during this time did not do what was right in the eyes of God and led the people astray. So in order to show what the people were supposed to be doing, I'm just going to draw this picture that you can follow along with. We're going to draw an octagon, which means it's got 8 sides, I believe. Yes, counting them. And then we're going to just draw, or write rather, this word. Stop. So this is a stop sign, indicating that the people of Israel really needed to stop what they were doing and obey and love God. Moving on to the next picture here, but God still loved the people. He wanted to warn them of the terrible things that would happen to them so they would stop doing what was wrong. God told Jeremiah, take a scroll, write my words on it. Jeremiah sent for his helper, Baruch, a name. As Jeremiah spoke God's message, Baruch wrote the words on a scroll. So again, just like last week for one of the pictures, we're going to draw a scroll. This is going to involve mostly drawing O's and I's. Go ahead and draw 2 O's together, almost like an 8. And then we're going to draw several I's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Finish it off with 2 half O's down here. And 2 more I's. And there we have our shut scroll. If you could imagine, it was a sheet of paper that you could roll open and shut. Now, moving on to our third picture here. When the scroll was finally finished, Jeremiah told Baruch to take it to the temple and read it to the people. Baruch went to the temple and read God's words in a loud, clear voice. And this time, some people listened very carefully to God's message. So we're going to draw a person listening very carefully. I'm going to draw them in blue because that's a color I have handy. First things first, let's go ahead and draw a wide U down here. Then we're going to draw C's on either end of the U. Those are going to be our ears. Then we're going to draw little reverse C's, which will be the little doohickey part of your ear. Then you can go ahead and draw any hair that you want. Mine's going to be curly because it's easy and fun. After that, you can draw eyes. They can be simple or complex. Mine will be somewhere in between. Go ahead and draw some sort of nose. And then a mouth of surprise, because you're listening intently and you're eating up every word that is being said. And go ahead and draw some of these little lines by the ears so that we know that this gentleman, or you can make her a lady if you'd like, is listening intently to the words that were coming from the scroll that Baruch had made from the Lord. Now, on to picture 4. One person who listened was a man who went and told the king all about this scroll. The king ordered one of his leaders to bring it to him. The leader read God's words to the king. The king did not like what he heard, In fact, he was so angry that he grabbed a knife. So for this next picture, we're going to go ahead and draw ourselves an angry king. I feel like red is going to be a good color again to represent the anger the king was feeling. We're going to draw our crown first. Simple line with 3 points up here. After that, another kind of hair. This time I'm going to kind of make it longer hair. It's going to come in all back here. Another C for an ear. Gonna make some angry eyes now. I'm just gonna do a simple dot with a angry eyebrow. Then a nose. Then a frowny face. And then, we can go ahead and give him some facial hair. A little mustache. A little beard. Got ourselves a very angry king. Trying to make sure that is for sure an eyebrow. Yeah, there we go. He's angry. He's fuming about this word of God that was proclaimed in his halls. He doesn't like it. He's an unrighteous king, and he does not want to have to listen and obey the scroll of the Lord. And he grabs this knife. Now, on to picture number 5. Every time the leader finished reading part of the scroll, the king took the scroll from his hand. He took his knife, and he sliced off that part of the scroll and threw it into a fire. The king didn't care at all about what God said. He wanted to forget about it and didn't want anyone else to read God's message. This is the complete opposite of King Josiah that we read about last week. So for this picture, we're going to start by drawing just one end of our scroll that we drew earlier, okay? I'm going to go ahead and draw it on... I'm going to need a little bit more space. I'm going to augment this line real quick. Going to make it a little bit of an audible here. Like that, over here. There you go. Go ahead and draw this scroll. Got ourselves our O, our eyes, our end of our O, our eyes. Then we're going to draw a line, and just this tattered, ripped up, cut line from where the king chopped it. And then go ahead on this side, we can just draw, I don't know, a good knife color. Go with blue. Closest thing to a gray, I guess we can get. Just draw a little knife over here. Sing! Glinting in the lights. As the king chopped off the scroll and threw it into the fire. He did not care about God's words. And not only did he not care about God's words, he didn't want anybody else to hear them, which is a sign of a horrible leader. Now, moving on to picture number 6. But God's words are important and valuable. God loved these people. They needed to know the trouble that was coming unless they would change. So God told Jeremiah to write out the same scroll again. The new scroll was to have all the words that were on the first scroll and more besides. Jeremiah and Baruch followed God's instructions and wrote another scroll. But the king and his people did not listen. This time, we're going to draw a bigger scroll. Right underneath the scroll we already drew, because this time the scroll is bigger. Whoosh, whoosh, 2 circles. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. A series of eyes. Whoosh, whoosh, half circles. Whoosh, whoosh. And then our last eyes. Massive scroll. More information to save the people of Israel. Moving on to picture number 7. Then there was a new king. Did he listen? No. First, Jeremiah was put in jail. Then the king's officials had Jeremiah thrown into a cistern, which is a hole deep in the ground where rainwater is stored. No one was listening to what God told Jeremiah to say. We're going to do a funny little picture here. I think that this thing is kind of cute. Go ahead and start with a line up here, a line down here. Going to make a J coming down from here, an A right here, an I right here, and an L right there, if you see that. And we're going to draw a little face, frowny, our friend Jeremiah in jail, in the word jail, which is a jail. Kind of fun, kind of cool. Now, finally, we're going to go on to picture number 8. A bit of a sad picture here. The sad part of this story is that all the terrible things that Jeremiah had told the people would happen did indeed happen, just like God said they would. Their country was destroyed. Soon, an enemy army attacked them, and their city burned, just as God said it would. The enemies took most of the people away as slaves. The trouble that God said would come did come. God's words are true and valuable and need to be listened to. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to draw some sad faces here because the people were indeed rather sad. We'll draw them to be blue because, they're sad. You can start faces pretty easily by making a U and giving some sort of hair, spiky hair, long hair, curly hair, some sad faces. You can copy any of these, try to make your own sad face. And these people were sad because what God said came to pass. If they didn't listen, some bad things were going to happen. Now, we're going to ask some questions to see if you were paying attention to the video message. So once I ask the question, I want you to give me a pause, answer it with either you, your siblings, or your family, and then hit unpause to see what the answer is. What does a prophet do? Pause. Unpause. A prophet tells God's messages to people, just like Jeremiah did. The prophets were communicators from God to the people. Next question. What did the king do with the scroll of God's words? Pause. Unpause. The king took the scroll and cut pieces off of it with a knife and threw it into the fire. Great work if you got that one right. Next question. What did God tell Jeremiah to do next? Pause. Unpause. God told Jeremiah to write the scroll again and add even more to try and help save the people because God loved the people. Final question about the message. What happened because the people did not listen to God's important words? Pause. Unpause. All the bad things that God said would happen did happen because God is not a liar. And the people were very sad because of this. And they had to go through a really hard time. Now, what are the important things to remember because of this lesson? The main thing to remember because of this lesson is that God's words are really important and that God gives us his word and his commands because he wants us to live a good and full life. They're not so that we can be miserable or hate our lives. They're so that we can be full and love our lives. Now, the greatest news of all is that God's people did not stay like this. Years later, God would send his son, Jesus Christ, who would set humanity free forever, which we actually talked about during our Wednesday night lesson. So if you didn't listen to that, go ahead and make sure you go there because the story does not end sad for God's people. Thank you all so much for joining me here on this Sunday morning. I hope you learned a ton. Feel free to leave any comments as far as recommendations or feedback that you have. Alex and I love you very much, and we hope to see you soon.